All right, let's talk about something big that's happening right now. A new federal law is set to completely change the entire hemp industry. You know, all those products you see just about everywhere, from your local corner store to wellness shops, they're all suddenly at risk. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar market that's basically facing a total wipeout. So today, we're going to break down exactly what this new federal crackdown means for everybody.
So let's just start with the headline number that has everyone talking. According to the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, this new law could eliminate 95% of the country's $28 billion hemp market. And let's be clear, we're not talking about a small tweak here. This is a potential collapse.
So what does this actually mean for you? I mean, whether you're a consumer, a patient who uses these products for wellness, or maybe you own a small business, this law is going to hit home. Let's walk through exactly what's changing and who's going to feel the impact.
To really get what's happening now, we have to go back a few years. This whole story starts with the 2018 Farm Bill, a single piece of legislation that basically created this booming and, let's be honest, kind of Wild West industry out of thin air.
So back in 2018, this Farm Bill was a huge deal. It made hemp federally legal, and that just kicked off an absolute explosion of new products. You started seeing them everywhere, right? Gas stations, health food stores, you name it. But now, it seems Congress thinks the industry it created has gotten a little out of control, and they're moving in to shut down what they're calling a major loophole.
And here's the key detail, the thing this all hinges on. It was all in the definition. The 2018 law defined legal hemp based on one single cannabinoid, delta-9 THC. As long as a product had 0.3% or less of delta-9, it was good to go, federally legal. That very, very specific wording, that's what opened the floodgates for this entire market.
And this quote, wow, it really cuts to the heart of the problem that lawmakers are trying to fix now. This comes from a bipartisan group of 39 state attorneys general, so it shows this is a widespread concern. They believe the 2018 law accidentally created a market for unregulated, intoxicating products that they now see as a huge public health risk.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of the new law itself. It's not just one simple change. It's really a three-part plan designed to completely rewrite the rules for what hemp is and what products are actually allowed to be sold.
So you've got these three pillars of the crackdown. Each one takes a swing at a different part of the current market. And when you put them all together, well, they create what is effectively a near-total ban on many of the most popular hemp products out there today.
So let's check out the first big change. It's all about how THC is measured. The old rule, right, it only looked at delta-9 THC. But the new rule, it adds THCA to the equation. Now, THCA is a cannabinoid that turns into delta-9 THC when you heat it up. By lumping them together under that same 0.3% cap, this pretty much bans the sale of all those popular THCA flower products that have flooded the market.
Okay, next up, they're going after products like delta-8 THC and HHC. These are intoxicating cannabinoids that you don't really find in large amounts in the plant itself, so they're often made in a lab by chemically changing legal CBD. Well, this new law bans any cannabinoid that's synthesized or manufactured outside the plant, and just like that, a massive number of intoxicating edibles and vapes are taken right off the table.
And this last one, this is the real kicker. It's a kind of catch-all rule. The law sets a new limit of just 0.4 milligrams of total THC per container. Per container. That is an incredibly low cap, and it's going to affect a huge range of products, even many that aren't meant to be intoxicating at all.
So let's talk about the real-world impact. What does all this mean for the stuff you see on the shelves of your local health and wellness shop? And, more importantly, what about the folks who actually rely on these products?
This is probably the biggest question for millions of Americans who use CBD oil for wellness, not to get high. For them, these are health products, totally separate from the whole legal weed scene. So are their products safe from this new law?
And the answer, and this is the crucial part, is potentially yes. They could be banned. That tiny 0.4 milligram THC limit per container is so restrictive that a lot of very common full-spectrum CBD oils, which have naturally occurring non-intoxicating trace amounts of THC, could suddenly be illegal under this new federal law.
Which brings us to another really important group of people. What about communities like seniors, veterans, and other patients? People who have come to depend on these widely available products for all sorts of therapeutic reasons.
Well, industry advocates are definitely sounding the alarm. They're saying this isn't just about money, it's about access for patients. The U.S. Hemp Roundtable is warning that this law will literally force patients, seniors, and veterans to break federal criminal law just to get the products they need. And it can destroy the small, local businesses that serve these wellness communities.
You know, it's not all just about THC and CBD. A whole market has popped up around these so-called minor cannabinoids too. Things like CBN, which people often use for sleep, or CBG. Where do they fit into all of this?
Well, they are also at very high risk. See, cannabinoids like CBN and CBG often have to be converted from CBD in a lab to get them in large amounts. That means they could easily fall under that synthesized cannabinoid ban. And on top of that, the super strict THC cap is going to make it almost impossible to formulate these products legally.
Now, it's important to know this isn't happening tomorrow. The bill was signed into law on November 12, 2025, but there's a one-year grace period. That gives businesses and consumers until November 12, 2026 to get in compliance before the ban fully kicks in across the whole country. So the clock is ticking.
So let's just zoom out for a second. What this all really boils down to is a fundamental clash between two totally different ideas about what the future of cannabis products in America should look like.
On one hand, you have regulators and state officials who are really focused on public safety. They're worried about kids getting their hands on these candy-like products and the complete lack of oversight in a market that sidesteps the legal, regulated cannabis system. But on the other hand, you've got the hemp industry. They're pointing to a devastating economic impact. We're talking hundreds of thousands of jobs and the harm this will do to patients who lose access to wellness products. Their whole argument is, regulate us, don't prohibit us.
And that leaves us with the big question. Is this new law the final nail in the coffin for that great American hemp experiment that started back in 2018? Or is this just the first big battle in a much, much longer war over how all cannabis-related products are going to be regulated in the future? I guess we'll find out. The next year is certainly going to be one to watch.